Hey, it's me, Holly Madison. Welcome back to my channel. I am doing my reaction series to Girls Next Door. This is season 2, episode 2. It's called Career Dazed, and I can't imagine what that might mean because both at the mansion and on the show, we weren't really encouraged to have careers. I would say not we weren't really encouraged to have careers, like we weren't allowed to have careers if we were to stay there. So I'm curious to see what they think merits a title called Career Dazed, but we will find out. If you could hit the like and subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. And let's get started with the episode. Okay, it's showing us filming a scene for Scary Movie 4. We were hired to film one scene for Scary Movie 4. We got to do it in Vancouver, Canada. It was super fun. It was the three of us in bed. It was like a joke to look like we were Charlie Sheen's girlfriends. And we do like a pillow fight scene. So it was totally fun. And recently Bridget reminded me that Charlie asked us to go out with him that night, but of course we said no. And I didn't remember that. I don't know if I didn't know about it or if I just let it fly over my head, but of course he did. In my interview, I say ever since our pictorial came out in November, we've been really focused on our careers. What careers? I know I'm just repeating what the producer asked me to say, but what careers are they talking about? Our 2-second role in Scary Movie 4. It's interesting what's regarded as a career for a pretty girl in the Playboy world. And I'm narrating this scene and I'm like, Playboy wants us to do so much press and we're going to events and promoting all this stuff. Yeah, we're promoting all of Hef's stuff and not getting paid for it other than what we're getting paid for as an episodic fee. But that's presented as our careers. And again, it's not that I'm not grateful for certain opportunities. It's just interesting that on this show, within this show's view of womanhood and what womanhood is in the Playboy world, our careers are promoting stuff for Hef. Kendra's super into meeting celebrities on this show. And she's talking about how Playboy changed her life because now she can meet all these people, which is fine. I thought it was cool to meet celebrities too when I was 19, but I just grew out of that really fast. I think being at Playboy kind of opened my eyes to the fact that being a celebrity doesn't mean you're a good person. I just feel so much of what we say in these interviews is us regurgitating back what the producer in the interview asked us to say. I mean, I know that because I did it, but also listening to other people's interviews, I can kind of tell when stuff is being planted. Here they have Bridget say, I always thought that if I was a playmate in the magazine, that's topping out. You can't go anywhere from there. And maybe she did feel like that a little bit. I don't know, but I'm assuming a producer asked her to say that because Bridget and I were close and I know that she always had a plan. Her plan before she ever met Hef or moved into the mansion was she wanted to be a playmate, preferably Miss October. And then she was going to open Halloween stores or haunted houses across the country. She always had a career plan and a goal. It wasn't being a playmate was the stopping point. And it never was for me either. I thought being a playmate would be a stepping stone to having a career like Pamela Anderson or Jenny McCarthy or Anna Nicole Smith. But the way they're framing everything in this episode, it's being a playmate is the top career thing. And then, from there, promoting Playboy, that's a career. Even if you're not getting paid for it or not promoting anything for yourself, you're just promoting this other man's brand. So it's showing Bridget doing something. I don't know if she's making a reel for TV hosting or whatever, but she's talking to the camera, reading a teleprompter, and it's mashing up scenes of her messing up like crazy. And I can only imagine how she feels about that because I'm sure it wasn't like that. She was probably there for 3 hours and there were a couple little blips and they edited ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. I don't know if you can see it, but I always feel this interview of Bridget's is her Cinderella interview because she's wearing blue with the puffed sleeves and has kind of a poofy hairdo with a headband. I don't think she meant to do that because she's not super into Disney where she would Disney bound. I think it was probably a coincidence, but I see it and I think Cinderella immediately. Okay, so here's a scene where Bridget is borrowing a car. And if I remember correctly, I haven't got to it yet, I'm such a bitch in this interview and I don't know why I say this or what question I was asked to set this up, but Bridget's excited about the car and I'm yeah, it's a cute car, but I'm not peeing my pants over it or anything. Maybe it was just because she was borrowing it. I'm oh, it's okay. But if she would have bought it, and I think she did end up getting that car eventually, but I wouldn't be so rude if that was the car she picked out and bought, but I think she was just trying it out. I was just yeah, it's all right. But like, I didn't mean to be mean about it. I think this episode is kind of meant to show like how our lives have changed and got better and more aspirational since the show has started. So it's showing Bridget like buying a new car, or I don't know if she actually buys it in this episode, but she's at least looking at it, and like our career opportunities and stuff. Oh, I see what they're doing. They're playing it to look like Bridget's like overexcited about it. So then it goes back to me saying, it's cute, but I'm not peeing my pants over it or anything. This episode's interesting because it's a rare rainy day at the mansion, which is very cozy. I still hated rain at this point in my life though, because I came from living in Alaska and Oregon where it rains like almost every day. So I still hated rain and thought it was super depressing. Now I love rain because living in LA and Vegas, it's so rare that now I feel like it's like a cozy, like vampire day, but I had not built my appreciation for rain at this point in my life yet. Oh yeah, I'm a total bitch in this interview. I'm like, maybe it's because I live in Beverly Hills and I see like nice cars everywhere, but I'm not like wetting my pants over it. But it's kind of true. I don't like necessarily go crazy over really nice cars. Like I don't get what the fuss is over half of them. I think some are really overpriced, and like I never got what was so great about Bentleys. Like they're supposed to be like this creme de la creme car, and I think they look kind of ordinary. No offense if you're like a Bentley driver, but I don't know, like I love classic cars. So it shows Bridget getting the car, and I guess she had to have it approved because Hef would lease his girlfriend's cars as long as they lived at the mansion, but there was like a limit on it. So maybe like they had to make sure they got a certain deal for her to get that car. I don't know. But it's interesting because after I left the house, Mary told me that Hef's credit was so bad he couldn't even lease cars for the girls anymore. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like, how is it possible to be worth like hundreds of millions of dollars and your credit is so bad you can't lease a car? Like, I know Mary would never lie about something like that. That's crazy. And then it cuts to an interview of me, and it's like, I haven't really had any specific career goals since I moved into the mansion. I'm just kind of like an unofficial lady of the house. Yeah, because you're not allowed to do anything when you live there. It's like, that's the part that's left out, is like you can't have a job and live there. Like I even kept a waitressing job I had before 1 day a week when I moved into the mansion, just so I would have like, not the waitressing job is a big deal, but just so I would like already have a job to like slide back in and like pick up more hours if I ever decided I hated that place. And he made me quit that, so. But this year, 2006, was the year I bought my first investment property after finishing real estate investment school. And that's never mentioned at all. For some reason, they were like so averse to like ever talking about the real estate side of my life. And then it's showing me doing a Playboy jewelry line. They're showing me the computer graphics of the jewelry designs I made. And I'm like, wow, it looks like movie special effects. And it's just so funny how like times and technology have changed so much that back then this was like super novel to me. It's interesting to me how people perceive age and how like responsible you should be or how aware you should be at certain ages. Like Kendra's saying, oh, I went to massage school, but that's like a backup plan. Like I don't need responsibilities right now. As if Hef would have ever like let her go work as a masseuse while she was there. But she's like, I'm 20 years old. I don't need any responsibilities right now. So like in the universe of Girls Next Door, as a 20-year-old, it's okay to be so young that you're, and just to be clear, like I'm not criticizing her at all. I'm just talking about like the male gaze of Hef and the producers and how they saw this world and what was presented as okay. She's 20 years old, so that's young enough to like not be adult enough to have responsibilities, but it's old enough to be sleeping with like an 80-year-old. Okay, so in this episode, somebody's getting a grill, and then she goes, the grill goes back a long way, and the producers show a picture of George Washington, and they put like cartoon teeth on him. And if anybody knows the history of George Washington's teeth and where he got his teeth, that's not cute. So yeah, ignorant. So Hef is telling Bridget and I that we get to do a Captain Morgan ad. I remember when the producer was telling us about this plot line, He thought Kendra was gonna be so pissed that she was left out of the Captain Morgan ad. Like, he was expecting her to be like, haters, but like she didn't really care and she didn't really react, so joke's on him. This episode is really boring. Every once in a while when I do these reactions, there'll be an episode that comes up and I'm like, damn, this one's boring. I can't really pinpoint why this one is so boring, but it is. It's showing Kendra in traffic, and traffic in LA is just so bad. And I remember we used to talk about how we wished we had toilets in our cars. Like, we wished like under the driver's seat there would be like a hidden toilet, because sometimes you're just stuck in traffic and there's nowhere to go to stop to go to the bathroom. And it was like worse back then. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I just had to drive more or what, but it's so weird looking back because they just showed a scene where Kendra's shooting for like a fitness magazine cover. And it's so weird looking back at the narrowness of what was considered an attractive body type 15 years ago, and how like Bridget and Kendra and my bodies weren't entirely that different. Like, there wasn't much of a difference, but I remember it was always thought of as like Kendra was the fit one, I was like blah, and Bridget was like the heavier one. And we were kind of like put into those categories, but like if you look at us, we don't look that different. Like, the differences are so subtle, like maybe like 1 pound. But back then it was a thing. It was considered like a huge difference. I feel sorry for the male model that's in Kendra's shoot because it's showing him getting ready and he kind of squats when he adjusts his Speedo, and they make like a farting noise. They put like a sound effect in it. The guy who plays Captain Morgan in this show, it wasn't just for the photo shoot. Like, that was his main gig, was he was the Captain Morgan pirate. And he stays in character all the time. Like, if you ask when he's born, he's like 1752 or something like that. My son is so into pirates and he would like love to meet this guy, I think. Oh, I should probably tell you the reason we're doing a Captain Morgan ad in this episode at all. So Captain Morgan sponsored this whole episode. Why do we need one company to sponsor a whole episode, you ask? Okay, so when we were on E, there was this association called the Florida Family Association. And they were so anti our show, because I guess because it was like sexy or whatever, that they would like harass all the people who advertised on E. They would do like all kinds of weird, crazy things to get them to back out of advertising on the show. And for years, you know, we always had that held over our heads, like on Girls Next Door and later on our spinoffs. E was always like, well, you know, you guys get the best ratings, but we have this advertiser problem. Like, nobody wants to advertise. So that was always a thing. And I think it's interesting because I feel like all the backlash at the time came from like nudity or sexuality. It was never like the reasons I would look at this show and say this is wrong now. Like, it was never about grooming or are these women okay or what's the deal here. It wasn't that. It was just like straight up prudy, like non-nudity type stuff. Also, just to show how it like spans different topics, there was a show, I don't remember what it was called, but it was about a woman being Muslim in America on TV, and Florida Family Association got that canceled too. Not because there was anything wrong about the show, but it was just because it was about somebody being Muslim in America. Like, that's messed up. I feel bad because I'm giving Bridget and Kendra these gifts I designed, but I feel like they're expecting it to be something better, like diamonds or something. Oops. You can see a guy walking in carrying 2 film cans at the beginning of this scene because it's movie night. We're showing Scary Movie 4, and Hef used to actually show movies on film. Like, this was before digital, so it was crazy. Okay, so takeaways from this episode. My favorite thing, this might be the first one I've done where I can't really think of a favorite thing right offhand. Like, it was fun looking at the Captain Morgan shoot because that was fun. I really liked the way I looked that day. I don't have a lot of other positives. I feel like this was a weird mishmash episode designed to show, you know, like how much opportunity we have or how much things have taken off since Girls Next Door started. But I'm just seeing a lot of false stuff. Like, we really, you know, we weren't allowed to work or like pursue any career in the daytime unless it was school related during the day. And I'm watching the interviews on here and I feel like I'm recognizing a lot of stuff we're saying as just things the producer asked us to say that were regurgitated back. And I'm just like not comfortable with the whole thing. I'm not comfortable with parts of the show that kind of look like appropriation, didn't age well. I think this might be my least favorite episode I've ever watched. Like, I don't like the part where I'm snobby about Bridget's car. There's so many things from so many directions that I don't like. So yeah, this might have been my least favorite one that I've watched so far. Anyway, I'll be back with another one next week. So I will see you guys then. Bye.